There we go. So, dealing with family, friends, loved ones, people that we know and who know us, we can get into it more easily with them. So, this is really to help you to navigate conflicts with loved ones with compassion and authenticity, meaning that obviously we're compassionate for the other person, but also to ourselves, and to remain authentic to ourselves and not diminish what we need and what we want in a situation just because there's a conflict and we want to maintain the peace. So we want to have some type of constructive resolution. When we get in these arguments or conflicts, it's easier to show kind of that darker side, right? We feel more comfortable to bring that out because they know us, we know them, all of that. And it goes both ways. So it is really easy to get triggered by our loved ones. It's kind of like just, it goes with the territory. But we want to remain out of the victim mode. Obviously, it's easy to get into those states with the people that know us the best. They know how to push our buttons, or they may be going through something that is beyond our control, and that can be very difficult to deal with as well. Remembering that everyone is doing the best they can with the resources they have is also, it's a good way to reframe, when you feel that, oh my gosh, this is what I'm having to go through with this person again. What are the reasons for that? And what are some ways that you can move forward in a healthy, empowered way? It's healthy and okay to express negative emotions, especially when appropriate and warranted. So there are times when people are out of line, and, it is okay and it is good for us to have a reaction. And it can be healthy for us to have that reaction. It depends on how intense it can get. I mean, sometimes we we might go a little too far with the intensity because we get carried away. But give yourself a little grace for those moments and avoid judging yourself for having a reaction, because we all have those moments of weakness where we are overcome by those emotions. So, it happens to the best of us, myself included. So if you have those moments, just don't feel guilty about that and give yourself a pass and move forward from it in a different way. And that's going to help you change things for the future. So the guilt obviously doesn't make you a better person. It doesn't make the situation better. It just drops it down to a really low frequency level. So just giving yourself some grace. Oops. Oh my goodness. What just happened there? So I'm going to jump to the 3 phases. And this is something that my teacher shared with me, but I've just kind of put it in my own my own ways of looking at it, and broke it into 3 separate sections. First is to reset, second is to recover, and the third is to reclaim. The first one is really important, and sometimes we skip this. The reset phase is to, when you're in the heat of the moment, to disengage, detach, distance yourself, to remain in control and calm. We lose our temper, we lose our cool, and, it doesn't go anywhere good from there most of the time. So it's a good time to kind of excuse yourself, walk away, anything to just kind of detach, because nothing good is going to happen after a certain point. And then this is a really important step to cleanse and ground your energy. And I'll just go into that one first. Cleansing, I've given you a way to cleanse your energy centers. Because a lot of times we can be more vulnerable when we feel lower frequency emotions. So even if it's anger, something like that, or sadness or disappointment, those kinds of emotions drop our baseline. And so it's really important to cleanse that energy from yourself and then to ground into a more peaceful state. So I do that when my 14-year-old is having a moment and I'm having to discipline her, redirect her, give her a consequence, and be that bad guy, right? I have to be the bad guy. I have to, and I'm going through my own feelings too. So I have to remember to do that. And I usually do, because if I don't, and this is important for those of us who are really sensitive, if you don't cleanse your energy from that point, you will continue to, we could say, match those kinds of energies of anger, sadness, disappointment, whatever you've felt. And so when you go to the grocery store after that and you just want to get your errands done, you're probably going to see or even experience similar types of energy. Have you guys ever experienced that? Yeah. Yeah. So it's hard to pause and be like, okay, I'm going to.
Absolutely.
Yes. So it's like, oh, okay, I'm going to cleanse my energy. I'm still feeling really irritated, but I'm going to take out my pendulum and my little papers here and I'm going to do it. It's really important to do that. And you will find that, your energy has dropped to at least a weak level. So you have that zone, the life force energy zone chart. So usually you've dropped down to at least the weak point, sometimes way down to degenerative. And that just makes you experience life in those ways as you move into trying to move on from that conflict. So it just perpetuates it. So it's really important to reset and cleanse in that way. Breathe, be present with yourself, tune into your 5 senses, not the moment you just came out of, but really get into the body again.
That's every Saturday night for me.
That's a good practice though, Deb. I could say the same thing. Yeah, it's good to do it on a regular basis, but especially if you get into it with someone.
Yeah. Saturday night is usually when my mother cuts up.
Oh, oh, Deborah, you so lovingly state those things. I just love it. She cuts up. Um, and then it can be tempting to want to move on right away, but it's important to just give yourself enough time, however long that takes, to be able to reflect and uh, figure out how you're feeling and what you might want to do moving forward. And then you can revisit later when everything's calm. So just don't rush it. Second phase is recover. And this is where you can start to take steps to resolve the conflict. And this is something that you will lead. The other person's not going to lead it. You have to lead it. So first you want to set an intention for the conversation. You want to have that intention in advance, so you know what your intention is, and then you want to share it with the other person. So we just had this big blowout, and my intention for us talking right now is to X, Y, and Z. And that's it. Are you ready to talk? And it might be yes, it might be no. If the other person's not ready, then you've got to respect that and revisit it when they're ready. Communicate forgiveness regardless of fault. This one's really hard because sometimes we feel very justified in being angry or standing by something that we said, something we believe is right. But there's always, if there's a big conflict, we always have a part in it to some degree. So it's important to be able to take responsibility. And in NLP, we always say that, please forgive me, right? So it's different than I'm sorry. Please forgive me is a request, right? For them to give you a little bit of grace, because you acknowledge that you could have handled something better, and even if they're at fault for something, you want to take responsibility for your part in that situation. Please forgive me. I forgive you, right? There's that whole Ho'oponopono forgiveness process, and you guys have access to that. So if you need a little more support with that, you can go and listen to that audio. both parties share with minimal intensity. So this is when everything's calm. Maybe it's been a day, maybe it's been a week, who knows? But this is when both parties are ready. And when you share, you're just having a conversation without getting heated. That's really, really important. And you kind of have to say, like, we're going to agree to approach this conversation from a calm perspective. Avoid
The
blame.
issue,
Yeah, go ahead.
now, I was gonna say the issue I have is that, the next day my mother doesn't remember anything.
You don't remember anything? Is that what you said?
My mother doesn't remember anything.
Oh, yeah. I
So I
mean,
can't bring it up because then it'll upset her.
yeah, I think in your situation, because of your mom's health, it's a little bit different, and you're going to have to um, probably re acquaint her with the situation so she knows. She might not agree with you in that moment, but I think for people who can remember, um, you can apply it. So, say your husband, for example, you can use this with him, but with your mom, you're definitely going to have to fill in more of the blanks for her. And then move to solutions and lessons. Again, in NLP, we're always looking for the lessons of a situation. And it could be something very simple, doesn't have to be profound all the time, but just something about, when I'm tired, it's probably not good to get into a big, deep conversation about something, right? It could be as simple as that, or it could be something more profound, but, lessons are always there. Solutions take a little more creativity on your part, because then it's, how are we going to do things moving forward? How are we going to improve things moving forward? So that's the conversation that you can ask them questions as well, but have some possible solutions in your pocket to share. And then we want to end with the hug, or the, whatever sentiment you feel you want to share with the person. That's important as well, because then you uplift the energy, and any of that weirdness, it tends to dissolve after that point. And then you actually feel like you can move forward. So that's the second phase, and that's done with the other person. And then the third phase is to reclaim and move forward, which means to just move on. That means you don't bring it up all the time, you don't refer to it constantly, you just move on. Okay? So even if it was like a big one, just do your best to move on and look at what you guys came up with for the solutions. And if someone isn't sticking to what they agreed to, of course you can call them on that, but you don't want to open up that argument again. Just keep it very businesslike and remind them of what they need to be reminded of. This is the last time is not a real thing. We think that something can happen once and that's the end of it. When we are in relationships, especially with family, we are not going anywhere. So the problems will resurface, and it may be in a different form. It may be slightly improved, but just know that if it happens again, you haven't failed. Because sometimes it can be like, oh, this isn't working. Like this, we came up with the solution, it's not working. Well, it's because we're human. It's because people are people. We're all growing and we're doing the best we can with what we have. And sometimes we might be a little further ahead than another person, and this may come up again. If it does come up again, you want to focus on the elevation that has taken place in the relationship. So people take baby steps. It can be extremely frustrating if you're way further ahead and this person's just kind of inching along, like, come on, but we've got to look at the whole big picture and acknowledge the person or the relationship for the progress that it has made. And it's important to voice that as well. Even if it's something really small and seems insignificant, that is another way to feed that connection with the other person. And it's a very healing thing to do afterwards. So, any questions, comments? This is basically the process. That's it. Reset, recover, reclaim. Does this feel doable?
Yes.
Okay.
Very nice. Very well put down.
And which part will you focus on for the next conflict that you get to move through with a loved one?
Mostly the reset.
Ah, okay. That is so important because sometimes we just need to step away from the conflict. It can be very seductive, to get pulled into it. We're just, we go with that energy and it's not always helpful. I can definitely attest to that. Okay, what about you, Deb? Which part of this process will you focus on for the next time?
Primarily the reset.
Really? Okay, interesting. Okay. So step away. Is it the detach or is it the cleanse?
Detach.
Okay. Oh, yes. Yeah.
Hard to do.
It's very hard to do. Yeah. Especially when you know you're right. Right? Like you just know you're right. And you're looking out for the person. But they just they don't see it that way. And it just goes around in circles. So
And with my mother, she's not gonna understand regardless.
Can you say that again, Deb? It's a little muffled.
In regards to my mother, she's not gonna understand anyway.
That's right.
I mean, she really isn't.
Yeah. So in that case, whether she understands or not, whoever it is, you've got to step away, right? Detach, disengage, just create space, just create some space. You can revisit it. Yeah. But just remember to revisit it. Maybe, with your mom, you're going to do that differently, but it's always important to circle back to confront what actually was the issue and not just move past it like it didn't happen. That's not helpful either. You want to move forward in a different, more effective, more positive way. So get that first step in there of reset and then recover and reclaim and move forward feeling empowered. I hope that helps moving into the week. Hopefully there won't be any big conflict you got to deal with, but like Deborah, there might be a weekly occurrence.
Saturday night.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I've got a similar pattern with my 14-year-old daughter, so it's all good. You are not alone, Deb. All right.
I apologize for any background noise. I decided to keep myself clean. Set my pull up.
No, it's fine. I'm glad that you were here for this last part, and next time we'll start with the guided portion, and then we'll see how things went as far as applying these 3 phases to any conflict that might come up for you. And this can be applied to anybody, even coworkers, people like that.
Well, we'll see what happens when my family gathers on Christmas Eve.
Well, hopefully it'll be nice and smooth. But you may need to do some
We're
detachment.
going to do virtual.
Oh, okay.
Because as chaotic and loud as it is, and as late as it is, that's not going to do any good for her.
Yeah, probably a good call. Well, that'll be easier then. You know, it's there's always a starting and an end point usually with those calls. So when you know you have a short window, then usually things go smoother, and hopefully they do.
If not, I'll have more things to journal about.
Yep. I mean, you know how to handle it. But I would also, moving into that situation, create an intention and also create kind of like a dreamscape type experience of things going well and really focus on things going well. And that's going to pre-frame the situation so that maybe there won't be anything that you're going to have to deal with, you know?
I can try that.
It's just doing what you want to experience in your mind before you go into that situation. So seeing smiling faces on the call, feeling very grounded and rested, you know, feeling your face and your body relaxed as you're looking at that screen. And you can even detach from that perspective and see your entire self in that situation as if you're watching a movie of yourself. So I see Deborah, she's looking at the screen. There are a bunch of faces of her family on the screen, and they're talking and laughing and that kind of thing. Does that make sense?
I can do that.
Yes. Yeah. It's just a daydream, you know, you just create that in your mind, and that helps to create that situation or that just that feeling within yourself as you move into the actual experience.